2, 3. We're live on 5 platforms. Let's see, 4.
Awesome.
There's the 5th one. Okay. So it's going to take people a little bit of time to come in. This is our second show out of the new studio. Thank you, Morgan Lee. And thank you, Carlotta J, for these 2 incredible prints that she gifted to us. Morgan's been asking people to, send their art, and we'll put it up on the back wall. She's going to paint that wall black so that we can, so we can feature people's work and their expressions. We have a great show, our second show today, with LightStar, who's out of Sedona, and I didn't even know it. And she's actually partnered up with a gentleman, Stands with Bear, that I met 2 years ago, and I saw him again on this last trip. They've been together 10 years, so we're going to get Stands with Bear on for the end of the year and get both of them on together to talk about their journey together, because it's always interesting to talk to a couple, especially with that type of longevity, and to see how they navigated, at least to this point, because everything is a new day and a new truth every day. But we're going to play the intro real quick for 1 minute, 19 seconds and allow people a little bit more time to come in. We'll be right back with LightStar. How's it going, everybody? We have a new friend in the house, and as usual, I never met her. We haven't really talked. We talked for a couple of minutes beforehand, and it was a cool discussion. I'll talk about it in a second. This is LightStar, beloved, beautiful sister out of Sedona, where I was just at for 3 weeks, and I didn't know she was there. And I didn't know she was partnered up with Stands with Bear, who's a friend of mine that I met a couple of years ago, an incredible musician, flute, and just has a lot of wisdom. So the fact that they're paired up, we're definitely going to get 2 more shows on before the end of the year. One will be with him and one will be with both of them, so we can talk about their journey. But today we're going to talk to her and get to know her. Typical soulogy fashion, where we get to know each other in front of a bunch of brothers and sisters. The rooms are filling up now. I haven't, because I came off the road, we just got back yesterday. We were gone quite a while, I think about 25 days. And just hadn't had time. I would have gone to your site. I did actually revisit it last month when you were originally scheduled, but I don't have the recollection with the 3D memory going away for everybody. But I know there were several people when they found out you were coming on that were like, wow, really excited. Because they follow you. And I think you said that you're most known for your light language and also for your artwork, which is one piece is right behind her, and that speaks for itself. No doubt at all. That's very, very incredible. Wow, the detail and all that's like a 1,000-page book. You just look at it. So welcome to the show. Thank you for coming in and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence. You must have an incredible story. I don't know. I know you've been in Sedona, how long have you been there? 10 years?
Well, yeah, I've been here about 10 years too. It may be where Stands with Bear and I are going on about 9, maybe 10. And then I've been here, it could be 10 or 11 years at this point. because I was here about a year before we met here. But it's been quite the journey to be here. And, I've loved every minute of being here. It's an incredible place. And it's just very magical. And everything I'd say that has come out for me in the last 10 years is because of being here in Sedona. So I have a lot of appreciation for this place, especially for those of us who are the creatives and the intuitives. A lot of us get inspiration and all of our stuff coming out here. So I'm really appreciate being here. Hello, Delia. I know a couple of my people coming on.
Right on. May have been one of the people that told me about you was Delia. She's one of the collaborators at SOULSPEAKS. There's a lot to talk about with you. But let me ask you first, how did it start for you? Did you have the traditional light worker path where you were born and you had the sensitivities and you were told that you were strange, or the invisible friends you had weren't real? Go back to your room, there's nothing in there, and then you end up going through school and get a job and have a family and you go to sleep kind of, and then one day it gets reactivated. Did you have that path?
I think we all had that path. That sounds very familiar. To me, I would say I've really always been very spiritually minded as a child, even growing up. But I was very suppressed, just like everybody, as far as your gifts and knowing your intuition and all of that. Being a hypersensitive empath, because that's really what it was for me, is being that empath, but not knowing you're an empath and not having anyone, obviously, in your family to really kind of express or talk about it. Except for in my family, I would say I had a great mom and dad that were very spiritually oriented and open to that kind of thing. So even though we were all murkiness together.
You were born to hippies?
No, actually, my parents were not hippies. My brother was. My oldest brother, I would say, definitely was a Grateful Dead head and all that. But he was into that. But my mom and dad were just very open-minded, I think. I grew up Jewish in the faith, but then also got to go to church and experience that. And I was a dropout of Jewish school, whatever. I just didn't like it, so I dropped out of it. I didn't care for it. But I really had great parents and a great family overall. Even though they don't really probably didn't understand what all this was about, but I didn't really understand that either. So, and my parents are no longer here on the planet anymore. I had a lot of death in my family for the last probably 10 years. I've lost like 5 elders in my family, like all of them, just one boom, 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 boom. They all went back, so, but they have been really a great, I set up a good, foundation, I'd say, with them, even though I didn't know who I was.
Make some good soul contracts.
I think so. I must have done something good in previous lives, because I didn't have, I had the neglect and certain things that everybody seems to go through, because I did have that. But overall, they were very good people.
Did you have something that triggered you to reawaken, where you just said, hey, I'm going down this path and I'm not going to look back?
I think that in 2009 was really the signifying date that when the market was crashing everywhere, and I was in Colorado at the time. I lived in Boulder, Colorado, around that area for like 10 years. And I was working in a forensic engineering, it was like restoration companies, forensic engineering, and environmental industry. So in marketing, totally different industry altogether. Working with insurance adjusters and attorneys.
Talk about the matrix, man.
Yeah, so I had like a serious corporate background.
Me too.
And so it's very, very interesting to see coming from that life and moving into this. But in that time frame, I knew I was about to change. Something was about to change in 2009 before it happened. But I was one of the last people to kind of lose the job and then have to go, okay, what am I going to do now? And I knew that was the right time to leave Colorado. So I did, and I went journeying around trying to find out where to go. And I ended up here. To be honest, it wasn't my goal to be here in Sedona. And I was only
of course, we just spent, 3 weeks over there. We broadcast, I don't know how many shows. I think it was over 60 hours of shows.
Oh my gosh.
But one of the interesting things is I met one guy there, and he's the exception. His name was Gabriel. He's a sound engineer, and he works with vibrational. You might know him. And he moved there at 14 years old from New York City with his parents. And one of them, I think, was a acupuncturist, and the other one, I think, was a chiropractor. But they were like hippies, They moved over there, and he said there was one light. They were putting the second traffic light in Sedona when he moved there. But everyone else that I talked to tell these stories of how they went for a visit, or they just ended up there. Like one lady was going to a conference like in Phoenix or something, and she go, oh well, I'll go up to Sedona for a day or two, and she went up there and ended up not going to the conference and staying 10 days. And everyone has all these incredible stories, but most of them didn't intend to live there. But you ended up
I didn't. And I was kind of like that lady you just said, where, I did have to leave and I didn't know where else to go. But I came here for 6 months. I figured, okay, I really came here, and I was like, I'm going to stay here for just 6 months. I'll do some healing work. And 6 months turns into now 10, 11 years.
Wow.
So it was really not intentional, but I have now I feel like I obviously can say why I know why I stayed here. Part of it is to have my unfoldment, to come out with my own gifts, because that's where it all came out. Once I ended up here, I did some healing work, and then all these gifts started coming out that I already had, but I just didn't know that I had. And so they unfolded one at a time. We got the artwork coming out, the intuitive part of me, the light language, which actually started when I was 9. So I will say I was speaking a language when I was 9 years old, but I did not know it was light language. I didn't know what it was. So now, obviously I can kind of unfold it.
I'm just curious, did you share that with any of your family?
I would say my mom was probably the only one that may have even half understood what I was doing at that time. Not that she would say, oh, that's star language, but she would have an understanding of it. Because I feel like that early language too was kind of at the time frame when, we understand what speaking in tongues is, but, a lot of the Christian faith understands that and knows what that is, but we don't know all the others that branch out from that go beyond just a certain, language that you're speaking to God directly. I call that the mother tongue. That's what I call it. The mother tongue just comes through as your straight language to God. That's usually the speaking in tongues kind of feeling. And then the other ones that I've developed over the course of this last 10 years, besides that one, where I've identified where they are coming from, what energies they are. And I speak about over 20 basically languages, but I'm usually utilizing about 10 or so in my, I created a light language chakra clearing that I use, and every single language that I go through someone in my private practices, and that clears the chakra energies. So I kind of developed this over a period of a couple of years, where all these languages started coming in, but then I started saying, whoa. I need to integrate this. I need to understand where they're all coming from, what's the differences and energies. And so that's how I kind of developed all of that. But all of it really came out here. And, most of us have gifts, that are inside of all of us. The creative stuff, the intuitive, the whatever it is. And not that you have to come to live in Sedona to get them to come out, because they need to come out wherever people are. And right now, especially in our world, we need people to come out with these gifts like now, more than ever.
It's almost, I don't know. I don't want to say it's unfair, but it's almost unfair to say it, but everybody needs to come out now. The more people that come out, we've watched it happen, over the evolution of SOULSPEAKS 5D. This is we're about 2,350 episodes, but Morgan called it last year. She was like, 2020, particularly the divine feminine energies that have been in the background are going to come out. And I can't tell you how many that I've talked to this year when we've, solicited them to come on, and they'll be like, I don't want to do it, but I know I have to.
Yeah. Well,
So,
that's interesting you said that, because that's a very important thing that I always mention, that what you're talking about in terms of there's always people going like, what's my mission? What's my purpose? What's my life purpose? What do I do? And then they say like, well, people say, well, what is it that you have a desire? What is it that you love to do? What is that? All of that is really well and good, but a lot of us are getting called to do what we are called to do.
yes.
And that may not always be what you want to do or what you enjoy in the beginning. Sometimes like for me, light language wasn't something I was going to come out and do as a, especially coming from the background that I did. That wasn't a goal or dream. And it's something that is almost like spirit calling you, saying, will you do this? And then you have to answer that call, yes or no. And it's your choice. But
isn't that interesting? I make a joke about this a lot, but because like last year, because I had kind of a nomadic kind of thing, and then my beloved was on the other side of the world, and I'm following the guidance, and I'm saying, hey, where's the abundance? I'm like scraping, and you kind of have to work with that abundance frequency, which is not like, you're not going to have a savings account. Just know that you show up every day and you'll have what you need, but that I just kind of coined the phrase. I was like, okay, if it doesn't make sense, do it. And every time I did that, I would get reciprocated quicker and quicker and quicker. But I think that's and actually Angela, our friend Angela Dwell, she's pretty incredible like you. She says she has a good question. Maybe you want to answer this. She said, how important is it for us all to come out now? Is this part of the change?
Yes. And yet it's also part of what we are supposed to be doing here as Starborn, as light workers, as light warriors. Like, we are here on the planet Earth to not just learn our lessons, but to also experience and also to express ourselves.
I agree.
That's kind of where we are here. That's what we're here to do. And most of the time, we're all hiding because we're afraid to come out. We're afraid to say something. We're afraid to show who we really are and bring out these gifts because we're afraid of what people will think. Okay. So I can attest to this. Okay. Because when I was coming out to do this kind of work, it's not like I'm coming out to say, oh, I'm going to so I'm going to go from marketing to becoming a chef. That's like a nice transition. Is totally different, but yet it's still mainstream to be a chef.
Right.
Okay. Is it mainstream to become a light language activation?
Well, no. I mean, it's like, like the Wright brothers, flying an airplane. And that's what I think, all of us are doing in our own ways. We break down these energetic doors, and we've talked about this many times on the show, particularly these women that have been doing the work in the background for years and years and years. They've actually been affecting the Earth grid. Yes. Even though they haven't had any notoriety, and now they're starting to step up, which even makes it more powerful. It's like you just exponentially expand the energetic flow and the reach, which I think is indicative of what's happening, in the collective. Because as the individual goes, so goes the collective, right? I mean, so as within, without. But
and I think even if I never went, I mean, my goal was never notoriety, fame, or fortune or any of that stuff, because I don't have that in me. It's not really that important to me. Right. I just do what I do because, again, I'm called to do it. It's something I need to do. And I was just talking to Stans with Bear about this too last night. Even we were discussing about what are, certain things that we come here to do. And, I'm a creator. I actually came here part of what I came here to do is to create products, to create things for the visual and to inspire people and to help people recall memories and all that. But I'm here to create, like, I'm a product person, I call myself. So some of us are here for that. And some of us are here to literally, be the teachers out on stage. And some of us are here to do things behind the scenes, but because that's what we're meant to do. And so it's all different. And I think the important part of it is really, truly to embrace what it is that you're here to do, but also to acknowledge and appreciate what everybody else is here to do, and not try to push them into what you're doing. So you have to have everybody else doing what you're doing, So, it's kind of like, I want people to envelop themselves, to unfold and develop on their own as their own expression. And so that's why, even with light language, I have a light language foundations class that people can take, but it's more about not me teaching you light language. It's about me helping you to unfold it in yourself, within you, your unique expression of light.
That's right. And even like, I love what you say. You move like I do very fast. So I'm trying to keep these streams I got going here. I got 3 streams going here. One, I want to come back to this because I think it's really important. We really haven't talked about this, and I can see you got a good handle on it. And that is what you're talking about in terms of following the guidance that you receive, and basically exploring yourself, and expanding your connection with the universe through your expressions / your work / your products. That's a hell of a journey. And there's a lot of people out there, and you can see it in the community over the last few years as people talked about, oh, I got to, get my value and I'm going to charge $300 for a session. And that's okay. I'm not knocking anyone. And then you had the other end of the spectrum that said, I'm not charging anything because it's, it's like a blasphemy or whatever. So there is some stuff there that I'd like to dig in with you, just because I think there's a lot of people out there, particularly women, who are coming into their own and have been doing this stuff, in solitude and without notoriety, but that are starting to kind of merge that frequency of abundance with their passion. The other thing I wanted to say too, you bring up a really good point about what you were saying about, I'm not trying to teach them light language. That's part of it, but it's really the energy. It's the energetic template of, hey, you know what? I'm going to open my mind to this, and what else is going to come? Their light language might be me doing conscious rap, or it might be stands with Bear with the flute. It could be a lot of different things. What you're pulling in. A lot of people, it's artistic expressions like the painting behind you, like the lady we just had on.
Yeah.
But in terms of you came to Sedona. You didn't plan on staying. Obviously, your antennas went up and the universe spoke louder and louder to you. And I want to talk about that before we get off the show too, because I've had some amazing experiences there, and I've only been there 6 times. But in terms of from the human level, right? You came to Sedona. You ended up staying. You start to expand your gifts and your guidance. But you also had to walk that path. I mean, you came out of a corporate world. I came out of the corporate world. You get a paycheck, you get bonuses, you get commissions, and you have insurance, all that stuff.
Security.
Was it a challenge for you over the years to, and so how did you navigate that?
Yeah, this is a big point, because I actually help people a lot with this, because I feel like I've been through this journey and been on both sides now. So I'm kind of understanding the process of shifting and transforming and changing to that new level of being. It is a completely different mindset completely. So when you're in a corporate job, and there's nothing wrong with that. I actually appreciated my whole time there, and I love the people I worked with and all that. And it's given me a lot of important skill sets too. But I do feel like that, because you are getting a paycheck and you have the insurance and you have the security, you may not be making what you want to sometimes, but you have it, it's coming in. Versus when you're stepping out on your own and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. And you get this excited, but not sure feeling about what you're going to be doing, but you're excited, and you step out and you realize that in some people, it starts out boom right away and they just go. Mine was not like that. Okay. It took me years of slowly kind of building. And what I found, and this is what happens a lot with women and also with men, but we find a lot of women that have the past lives where we've had witch trials and hangings and, drownings and outcasts and all of that, whenever you came out and spoke about what you were speaking about. Yeah, so the fear that came up. Okay. And that comes up for a lot of people when they step out of the gate. It may come up for you, and it comes up in not a very conscious way. It comes up in a subconscious way or under the surface. And what it causes to happen sometimes is for you to self-sabotage yourself in a lot of ways.
That's a great point. That's a great point, because when you said earlier, and now I know I'm just like everybody else. We all have certain strengths and weaknesses that are kind of innate. One of mine has been probably the biggest one has been I never cared what people thought, and I didn't never understood why people had a problem, with that and worried about what people thought and whatever. But what I was going to say is like, when we think of innate things that we've inherited, right?
Mhm.
We often think of like a strength, right? But you're right. There's this subtle, ingrained in the DNA oppression, suppression that I think a lot of the humans, which are primarily feminine, that carry, in the majority of their energetic field, the feminine, the divine feminine that's trying to come up, have had this fear, and that's where it's been tied to, which I think
Yeah.
is, it looks like in 2020, we certainly try to create that here because that's what Soulogy's communicated to us, that this platform is a voice, is for the
Mhm.
voices of the Mother Goddess in all of us that has been suppressed, obviously. But I think there's, in 2020, seems to be more support now, more acceptance, and even, I guess, really more courage coming
Yeah.
from this feminine energy.
You took the word right out of my head. Thank you. But
Yeah.
yes, so what I was going to say about that was what it really takes, because people feel like you always hear this, like, well, I don't have the confidence to do it. I don't know if I should do. But you know what? You know where you get confidence from. You don't just get confidence, just like wait around to get the confidence so then you'll step out. No,
Yeah.
you have to have the courage
Yeah.
to first be able to step forward regardless, and then you build the self-esteem and this all of that security and all of that stuff comes later, where you get the confidence that you need to be able to move forward. And the other part to that, the other formula to that really is to step out, and it's like the Nike statement, like where you say, do it anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to feel fear. So what? Like, big deal. And fear, I have a thing about fear where we've heard the false evidence appearing real. But to be honest, this is what I feel it is we can do two things when we feel that. We can either fear everything and run, other acronym, or we can face everything and rise. Okay, so that's the second one that I always say,
I like that one.
that's where
I
we
was
go.
thinking freaking excellent, amazing ride.
Yes. I mean, you have to look at that and just say, it's okay to have that. We're all going to have these weird feelings inside of ourselves, but don't let it stop you. Don't let it
Yeah.
stop you no matter what comes your way. Because, and I feel like when people do step out and put their stamp on how much they're going to charge for whatever, or if they're not going to charge. And I always say that, it doesn't matter if you want to charge or you don't want to charge. What matters is your own intuitive feeling about it, how you're going about it, and how, if you're not charging because you're afraid to charge, that's a whole nother issue. Then I'm not charging because I feel like I want to give this away freely. That's a whole different dynamic there. So you have to be very conscious of that inside of yourself, of what's going on and which way you're leaning towards.
But I think, to your point, do something, because my wife, I met her a little over 5 years ago, and we had an online relationship for a year and a half. Mm-hmm. And I remember her because I never heard or really discussed with anybody ascension, or, here this woman was downloading sacred sexuality and sacred union and ascension type of, information. But I remember her telling me early on, as because I had started Soulogy, and she was starting to influence me and really become a part of it, because it's a 50-50 proposition now, that she said the number one word in ascension is reset. And it always stuck with me, and it always takes me a long time to figure out what the hell somebody's really saying. But to your point, that's the way it worked for me. The way it worked for me was because I was trying to get her over here, and I was trying to have a relationship, and I was trying to follow guidance and build Soulogy, and I kept running into, even though I didn't care what people thought, I still kept running into fears every single day. And I finally went, you know what? I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's wrong. I'm just going to do the best I can in this moment. And if I, step a certain direction and I start to feel an imbalance or I'm uncomfortable with it, I can reset. you know.
You can always change it. You can always change anything and everything. And I want to address I saw something that popped up. It's not there anymore, but it was a question from somebody who was asking, but it's hard to step out because people won't understand. And that is so very true. But if you look at it, if you have to get beyond having to have people understand you, okay? Because that's not always going to happen, no matter if you're the clearest person with how you're speaking and how you're saying things, you're still going to have other people that may not understand. Okay. They may not be at that level. And I don't even mean like as in a hierarchy. I'm just saying they're not ready to open up yet. They're not ready to.
They're in a different spot in the spectrum.
They're just in a different place. It's not higher or lower. And that's okay. And that's why I'm saying we have to appreciate where everyone is at, not try to force anything or make people so that they understand us, like you have to understand me. It's like, no, they don't have to understand, because what we're all doing, I think, is that we're literally planting seeds. I mean, we're star seeds. So we plant seeds and those things grow over time,
Right.
and you can't force that or not force that. And, I allow people to, it's the same thing with my YouTube channel. People get activated on my YouTube channel from all my different languages. And I don't feel like I had put that out there because I need people to understand. Gosh, if I was going to do that, I wouldn't have started a YouTube channel at all.
Well, you're doing what you're led to do, and what you said or what that question was a minute ago. It brings to my mind this meme, and I can't get it right perfectly, I don't think, but it's like something about like in the spirit of what you're talking about. Do what you're guided to do. Those people that you don't think are getting anything out of it, something like that, they're actually watching you. Now, I don't know, again, like what you said, is it conscious? Is it unconscious? But there's something about the opposite of what you said, or say the opposite perspective, the perspective that somebody might have and say, oh my God, I can't do that because they're not going to understand. But there's another side to it. When they see you take an initiative, in that boldness, it's an illumination to the soul and to the grid. And even if they're not conscious that their soul is conscious, their soul picks up on it.
Yeah. We're all inspiring each other in different ways. We inspire different things about ourselves. And to be honest, how are you going to know what you're good at or what your specialty is or what all of that, unless you actually step out and try some things? And you will sometimes you make something and it's, like as in a chef, okay? Like you make a soup and it's awful. And you're like, okay, well, I know what to shift next time. I'm not so great at that one. You shift it and it gets better each time. So, and that's the same with gifts. You won't know until you try. You won't know until you actually step out and see. You stretch that rubber band of yourself.
That's right.
And I feel like, now we're in this time frame this year, because what I feel is really happening with this, people have been doing that. There's a lot of people that still need to step up. We're going to be in another wave here in 2021 is what I was getting. I do channeling every year for the Sedona the Sedona Journal of Emergence. And I was doing this Ascended Master Hilarion behind me, channeling for 2021. So what I was also getting from him is that there is going to be another wave. We've already been right now. We're in this wave of people awakening that may not even happen until 2021, because they've been still in the place of maybe they're not working, maybe they've had to cut out, maybe they lost their job. And now there's like that process that we've all gone through that sometimes takes like 6 months to a year to figure out what you're going to be doing.
Let's go back to this, because I want to make sure everybody's clear. And I think I heard you correctly, and just add to it or subtract or whatever. I think it's important what you brought up. 2020, we can look at 2020 and go, oh my God, there's a quarantine, there's a supposed virus, there's this and that and this and that. But the reality is that there's a huge awakening. There's a wave. There's a wave, like you said. So what you're saying is, if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is that in 2021, we can expect an expansion of that and another wave.
And more change. next year is going to be a lot of change just like this, but I just feel I've been feeling that anyway. But yes, this wave that we've had, this mass awakening that's happening in the midst of the chaos and everything else that's happened is happening, but it does take time. You know, I mean, for me, it was like a year, you know, from 2009 till like 2010, 11 before I was really ready to come out. So it takes some time of adjustment for a lot of people that have been hurled into, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I feel like that wave is coming as well. And we're in one now as well. So, I mean, there's different, we've seen over the 10 years and even longer than that, where there's been.
Just look back a few years, just look back to 2019. I mean, I remember 2019, there was in the light worker communities, it took on like a new kind of thing happened, like as we went into the end of the year. And right as we were going into the end of the year, like say October, November, December, as we're getting ready to, there was a whole bunch of projection. There was a whole bunch of people like going back and forth, like saying, you know, like for instance, on the subject of, oh, you can't charge, or, oh, I'm going to charge. I mean, there was just this like almost volatile thing, chaotic episode before, you know, before the 2020 came. But now I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned channeling. I know you've been doing this very consistently based on what you're telling us. And just your energy, we can feel it. So you do channeling, you also do light language, and of course you do the art. Is the channeling and the light language connected? I mean, like when you get light language in and it comes in, I guess it is a free flow channel. Is it with a message that you can explain to people, or are those two separate things?
Yeah, I think what happens with, it's all channeling. I call it channeling, but it's not like I'm channeling like, I don't do the channel where we have trans channeling, where we let the whole being come into your body and just take over. Okay, I don't do that per se. Other people do, but I'm really more conscious channeling. So where
you're tapping into a particular aspect of, let's say, the morphic field that presents itself to you, or you might go tap into one consciously, like Hilaria. You might say, I'm going to
I open up and of course I don't just open up without doing a lot of, you know, just making sure that the grounding is there and that the stream is clear, and all of those things have to happen before you even open up to any of that. But when I do, I actually tune into what's coming forward. And so the artwork, everything I do, I'm really seeing these beings that I bring forth. All the star people that I bring forth, I have a star people series that's like 12, I believe. And they're going into my next Oracle deck. So it's all there, but it will be there, which won't be out for another year or so. So that's all comes through and it's all channeled. All the stuff that I do with light language, I'd say is just a part of me. It's actually an aspect of what I do in the other realms. I'm multidimensional like everybody else. So I have a role there, though. That's why I speak so many of them, is because I have a role that I actually do.
You're like a switchboard operator.
I'm like, I said, this is how I describe myself, because people can relate to this, is it's a cross between Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek and Deanna Troi on The Next Generation. Okay, so if you put those two together, that's kind of my role as that aspect of me. So I'm kind of bringing through light language and also an empath and all that. So
this question and the answers that come always fascinate me about souls like you. So do you have a choice? Does it come in when it wants to come in? I know it probably comes in when you dial up, but I mean...
Yes, it comes in when you're not even dialed up either. Yeah, it does. Although I'm not like, it reminds me of that movie Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg, where she's like, oh, stop it. You know, I mean, there are some places where you could just shut it off, you know, but I have had beings coming to me when I did my dragon image. I have Valion, the Wisdom Keeper, which is an image I created of this dragon that specifically came through in a waking state, not a dream state, because I have tons of stuff that comes in my dreams. But this was in a waking state, and I wasn't expecting it. I didn't dial it up or anything like that, but it was something that came through at that time. It was very important and really kind of stepped in line, because I have these beings kind of like they're in line, almost like waiting to be brought forth, okay, in the imagery. And so and some of them cut in line. Like, it's funny, like how it is, where it's like, no, that's just more of an important thing that needs to come out right now. So they're like, hey, me first,
Well,
you know,
yeah,
in a nice way. I'm just joking with that, but it's like that.
no, but it's true. I mean, my wife was telling me, we were talking about this a couple of months ago, and we are talking about our composition, our multidimensional aspects, and they all have a particular specificity, right?
Mhm.
Like, so they all kind of have I don't want to say agenda in a bad way, but they have their own agenda they're pushing. And I think that's important to remember too, because we say here at Soulogy, the human is the hero. I mean,
Right.
like, we are equal to all of those aspects. They make us up. We're not complete
Yeah,
without them. They're not complete without us. But
all
yeah,
in one. And
yeah,
it definitely comes through. And I also want to encourage people too that are listening to that, think that, because I have had these streams coming through with the artwork and the channeling and the light language. But you know what? Even myself, all of us, we're evolving. I'm having music coming through now.
yeah.
I've never done music in my entire
What
life.
kind of music?
And now I'm doing this I call it music activation.
Mm.
It's music. I'm creating my own music. Okay. Creating the music, which is, and also blending it with light language. So I have these, I started with my 444 music activations, and these are 4 minutes, 44 seconds long. So I'm kind of using the number there, and they're really powerful. And I never knew I could do that. So I really want to encourage people, just step out there and do it, because you don't know what's going to come forth. And I have more I'm doing on that, by the way, but that's just another stream coming through.
Right on, right on. Well, I can't imagine you and Stanswood Bear in the same room.
Oh, it's pretty powerful.
I can see your complimentary energy. I want to ask you a couple of things and just get your perspective on it, because of the wealth of your experience. So what I've noticed, not just with myself, but with other people and what they post and conversations, there's been like an amping up of lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like they're bleeding into each other, right? I mean, I'm thinking about just a couple I've had the last 2-3 days, and they were so real, like as real as me talking to you here. Now, I know lucid dreams can be that way, but these were a little different, And then the other thing that I'm noticing too, and I've had this happening more and more through this year, and I've seen people write about it, and that's where people, like, say, for instance, 2 days from now, you wake up and your guides are coming in. They're like, oh, you got to tell Todd something. You have to go tell him. And we're not going to leave you alone until you
do it.
Have you picked up on any of this? And do you have any
recurring stuff? Well, and I'd say that I want to say, we've heard that people say the veil is thinning, but I have a bit of a different take on that. I kind of feel like the veil's always been like that. It's just that our consciousness is getting stronger and stronger to be able to detect more and more. So all that stuff's already been there. I mean, we don't say like the astral plane where we dream at night, all that stuff's already been there. It's just we are expanding and growing. So that's kind of one thing.
It's like we're
like recalling our own memories.
Yeah, and I wonder, it'd be like everything else. You got to clear the space for the vessel to fill.
Yeah.
A lot of us have talked about, we're losing our 3D memory. We're losing our ability to function. Like, you get up, I get up from the studio, I'll walk upstairs to the kitchen, and then I'll go, what the hell did I come up here for?
That just happened to me yesterday.
You forget you were going to make a tea, right? But
that just happened to me yesterday, so I completely relate.
Right.
Where I was like,
but you know what I mean? It's like the 3D memory is leaving, but the multidimensional memory is filling in that space.
Filling in. And dream time, you're right. Dream time is absolutely huge. I mean, I'm an avid lucid dreamer, so I completely know what's going on. I mean, I feel like when we're in our dream experience, we're all working. Okay. So if you think you get rest at night, good luck. Not happening. We're doing work all the time, which is why a lot of us are really feeling tired when we wake up and we just got full night's sleep. And we're like, but yet it's not a physical thing, like something's wrong with us. It's more about, we're just doing so much energetic work. And things are coming to that sort of forefront where we are having more and more things happen. The collective, as we pick up more that happens in the collective, it comes through our dreams more first, because that's
Yes.
where we're more accessible to those, at least a lot of us. And I know people that say they can't remember their dreams and stuff like that. Well, I have a whole way to help you remember those, but yet you're still having them, you're still having the experiences, and it's still affecting your etheric body generally before it kind of comes in. And then you'll find, well, how many of you guys have had the scrapes and the bruises when you wake up in the morning and you're like, I did not have that before I went to bed.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That used to happen a lot 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. It doesn't happen to me so much anymore, but I think there was a lot more chaos.
Phases. You go through phases, or you may have been in the crew around 2012, like before 2012, or right now, there's different times where you get more activated, or your job or your role gets shifted into another place that might be a little bit more activated for your physical body that might be affected there. But we're all getting this. And honestly, the dreams are, I know what you're saying. I had a dream just about a week ago where I just woke up and I go, that was not a dream.
Well, we know they're not dreams, but now really
happened.
They're like I don't know. I guess maybe they're anchoring. I don't know, but like I think when I had a couple of nights ago, it was my son, one of my sons, and I remember looking at his face, and I guess it was it was obviously telepathic, and I said, "Is that you?" And I said, "Is that him?" And I looked really close because I knew it was more than what I knew was my son. Right. But I looked at his face. It was just like mine. He looks like me. And then all of a sudden it started like doing all this weird stuff and all these other, like shapeshifting. It was all morphing into all these different parts of him. And it was incredible. It was profound. I mean, I woke up out of sleep and I was sweating.
You're like, oh. I think too with those kind of dreams, and also a lot of other different types of dreams, because I have like a video on at least 7 different types of dreams that we have. And one of the types that I feel dream time anyways, that is really, really important for us to be aware of, or that we have and that we're dealing with this, is those life purpose like dreams, but also the Jedi training dreams. That's what I call it, where you're getting trained in your dream time. You're having your guides or your beings, your star family, whatever is actually training you in your dreams. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's coming more and more. We're getting these sort of mastery dreams where we are put in positions, situations, whether it be holographic or whatever, and you're in a hologram, you gotta have to figure out what are you gonna do next. I've had many, many dreams, especially in the last few years, where I feel like I know my guides are watching what I'm doing. They're like, how's she going to handle this one? Okay, what are you going to do? And then there's times where I feel like I failed. Oh, God, I wake up and I go, oh, shoot, I need a do-over on that one. And then you get one. Like, that's the thing I've been having, is that it's not like you get one and you say, oh, I screwed up. Oh, well, I'll never have that again. No, you actually get another opportunity, because that's what's happening.
It's like a video game. It's like you can't die, so you just go back to where you started and match.
Okay. I mean, even if you messed and you didn't get to do it in your lucid dreaming, you can still do it in your meditation, and you probably will have another opportunity within that week or something, another dream time where you'll have the time to now step forward. I mean, I have loads and volumes of different training that I've had that has been really fascinating to me. But when you wake up and you go, I know I was just trained.
And how about now this year too? Like, it all comes in so fast. You're like, what was that?
Yeah.
I got to write that down. But by the time you can't even, and then you just know. You're going to know when you need to know.
That's better than not knowing.
So you've been. I got to tell you. I got to ask you this too, because I've been to Sedona 6 times, I think. Mm-hmm. And every time I've gone, this last trip there was, even though our car blew up and there were some things that happened, there was more continuity. It was more level. I was driving from VOC to West Sedona every day to go broadcast. Mm-hmm. And on the trip there and on the trip back, as I was going by Bell Rock and all those, they were speaking to me. Mm-hmm. So that was all intact. But the other times that I've went, there has been third eye, dimensional, interdimensional, and apparitions. Okay. And I just got to ask you, since you've been there for 10 years, what's the most provocative, wild things that have happened to you there?
Oh my gosh. You know, I wouldn't, there's so many different kind of stories about different things, but I've had some really profound experiences with, not many people know this here. And when I first kind of came here, I found it through somebody who told me about it and said, I don't really tell very many people where this is. So, but I'm telling you, I'm guided to. So I can't really say where it is exactly in Sedona either, because I feel like I'm kind of holding on to that same thing that somebody had done for me. But it's basically, and some people know where it is. It's basically where Sedona, like literally, is buried. So Sedona, who was named after, it was the wife of the I forgot what his name was, but her first name was Sedona.
That's how Sedona. I didn't know that. Yeah. That's how Sedona.
It was named after her, his wife, who maybe somebody will chime in. I can't remember actually the man's name, but anyway, that where she's buried, I was guided to go there, and I really had a profound experience with the spirit of Sedona. Okay, and in a really profound way, like literally the spirit of Sedona. And that's just one example where it was really at a time where I remember a time where I was I was kind of questioning whether I was going to leave Sedona. Well, am I done here? Are we kind of done? We move on? And then it was almost like I had to go there to get an answer, for my journey about whether I was able to stay there in here or not. And it was really about, I was asking almost like, okay, this is a university here. Okay. We have the fastest university on the planet, or one of them right here in Sedona. So I was like, okay, if I've gone through a 4-year university, now I'm asking, can I stay as a professor? Am I able to stay here as tenure and long term? Or is it time for me to gather what I have from the university and go out into the world and bring my gifts? And that was around the time where I had this very profound experience at the grave site of Sedona, and actually really felt like the energy was there and saw and heard, and really just, it was very profound. But obviously I'm so
that's the thing about Sedona too. Because
you have guardians here. I mean, you've got the rocks, you've got guardians, you've got beings, there's dimensional portals here. I mean, you've got everything.
It's like a spaghetti bowl. It's like going to New York or Chicago where all those highways run together. It's like a cosmic, galactic, angelic, super highway spaghetti bowl. It's because everything gets amplified there.
Yes.
I mean, I've talked plenty of times about stories about Sedona, but I will say that well, let me ask you this. In talking with Gabriel, that sound engineer, who moved there in 1990 at 14 years old, and then just picking up different things while I was there, I went out to that conference where I saw Stands with Bear, Tulloch's conference, and that was in like northwest, out of ways past Bear, whatever that Bear Mountain. I couldn't believe the amount of homes that have been built, the lots that are being sold. I mean, even going out to that conference, which was on a dirt road, I was getting passed by dune buggies like every 2 minutes, and I was in a 4Runner. But anyway, what I was getting at, has the energy changed with more people coming over there that, let's say, have more of a commercial mentality, or let's just say that may be less plugged in? Yeah. And do you have any feedback from Sedona on that occurring and what that
I think we do have that. We have a lot of people that are more into the concrete, buildings. And a lot of time, we have so many resorts here, but yet they're pushing to build more resorts. And that's not what we need here. So, we all have this feeling about it, about what's really going on. Why are they doing this and bringing this in? And obviously Sedona has expanded in like crazy amount. I mean, even before I got here, 20 years prior, I was here and there was none of this here. So it's you have a sort of a battle between the people who want to keep it small and keep it, very, very clean and not build. And then you have the builders that are coming in and buying up all the different little places here. And so they're like expanding. So it is a little bit of a challenge. in that way. The traffic is getting worse, and we don't have traffic like
man.
LA, but it
No,
is
but it can take you. It can
from
take you.
here.
Yeah.
It can get locked up.
You know,
But I don't know how long we have, but do I have time to do a light language
yeah,
activation on here?
I was just about to hit that. I just want to have one comment. I was gonna tell you, we're gonna run over a little bit if that's okay, and I'm gonna give you some time. I'm about to that point. I usually, 10 or 15 minutes before the show ends, I'll tell you in a second. But I wanted to just throw something in there because so I had went to Sedona in 2018. 2018, yeah. I heard you got to go to Sedona, and I did, and all this amazing stuff happened over 6 weeks. And then I was called to Kauai, and I didn't even know what Kauai was. I didn't know it was an island in Hawaii. I didn't know anything about it. But it reminds me of when I got to Kauai, because when I got to Kauai, which is, if you guys don't know, it's the second smallest island. You can get around it in about an hour and a half in a car. And there's a section of it in the northwest corner where there's basically no road. I mean, you can get back there, but you can't go through it if you're just a tourist or whatever. You got to live out there. But anyway, so what happened was, I think it's called the Napoli Coast. So there was a lot of that kind of energy that was invading the island. And then they had this massive rain for like 3 months, and it just washed everything out. The roads got shut down, and it was like, and everyone I talked to there said, well, Mother Kauai is cleansing all the BS out, So it kind of reminds me of that. And I was thinking of that. How would that happen here?
Oh my gosh, yeah. We don't have floods or tornadoes. We do have, of course, we didn't get barely any monsoon rain at all this year. I've
never seen a monsoon.
Oh, it's usually around this time. And last year we didn't have any monsoon season, and this time we had very little. But it usually comes down in like sheets,
I would love to see a monsoon. Yeah. So I was going to ask you. First of all, okay, we'll do this first. I want to just afford you this time. Okay, so the floor is yours. If whatever you want to do, light language, channeling. If you want to have more commentary on a specific subject or anything, and then of course, before we get off today, we're going to let everybody know how to get in touch with you and where they can find you.
Yeah, I think that what's been coming in, where I've been sitting here, just having the conversation, and I'm also receiving that because of this time frame that we have been in, and it's been very stressful for a lot of people on the planet right now, that I was kind of feeling doing a light language activation was coming forth specifically for that. And what I've been getting a lot is the adrenal glands, especially for all of us, have been sort of getting exhausted and drained. And so we're getting a lot of adrenaline pumping through our year. Okay. This whole year has just been like this adrenaline going, like this adrenaline rush, because one minute you're standing here and the next minute something's changing, and then this is happening, and then this is happening, and we're kind of like getting bounced back and forth. And it's a lot for our energies and for our physical bodies to handle all this. So one of the reasons why I came here too for this planet is to actually help people to calm their energy, to soothe and calm and bring everything down into a place of peace. But this light language is actually going to, and it kind of answers to one of your questions that we didn't get to, which was, do I know what I'm actually saying when I'm bringing these messages through? Well, I bring through when I get, like right now, this is for inspiration and to help the adrenaline system and the adrenal glands kind of calm down, okay, overall. But whatever message you get is going to be up to you, because it's going to be different for every single person. So I don't really translate or any of that for the languages that come through. So as I speak the language, I'm probably going to maybe go into one, maybe two or so that will go right into one another. And so just as you're listening, as you're doing this, put your mindset off to the side and then just listen with your heart and whatever would like to shift or transform or whatever you want to get from it. Okay.
Right on.
So that said, let's go in here. Gejdan al-Malhalish, Shanagiz agajen azomaga vanza zalalejege. Sur halmalehejo guhad ad izag alhalma aje iso gogo nar. Zandiza mahejo gaga yezanda. Unsa shia kahansi sia. Urondo ugajingi ve igea ganaz. Sur adan zer amale eleji gogogale zan alhelme eleshiga gus. Huratan malame isatan isokukura kalesh. Sul halame isitat an agalejen. Sal halama alesi agolo ujonda. Sukwa akan hele ise. Hikive ini soko ala ele shihoka. Suna ansi hishio kai. Descenda halaleshu ukulale meti agwala intila malaleshok. Ujinga hal aleme zur alelzinga aleli dijungo hejimia gahale. So hamagai isudan zisagalale usha avan huranare isura akeve is uralan de urashan merek. Meliha laishea wahama akve sir onda halme is uhaave iwashan mesave huran ai ale soar omar ai sir al hair makal salame hul ale unar ala sendi hakavai en surara madeira surara landira hingi hashuar anda unsara amshi shur hamale sur halvesh varan saraye kurashan teresindi usurganashi undan Sanamaneshi ko taranesete tereniesa kunanati nuru shoneri takrimatish koniant krumdish kriant ries kiontuyon ries konias kum sunarish kitias kriant krias konoris oma sundarish kriant krias kondi suram harash krias gans kuntish kitias ana sutarish krias kanarish kunarish kitias onda sans kuntish kitias kuntish gram surish kuntias kumarish kitias Surrender is good on the Greek Cotorana, so many which go to the Roma, Suraranta Somara Abracam. Sorry and seashore Arasama, Tisunara Soma, or Ashen. Okay.
That was powerful. Thank you very much. That was very cool. I never heard the second one.
That was energy. I feel like I was getting out some bringing in some energy from beings that are what are called phyla energy. I don't know if a lot of people are not familiar with this, but I've done a couple of videos on them. They're the phyla people. It's actually pronounced phyla, but it's spelled P-V-I-L-A.
P-V-I-L-A.
Okay. And they're I'd say there are some people that are here that are connected to that energy, not as much as, say, Syrian or anything like that, like Palladian and Andromedan. But the reason why they wanted to bring that energy coming forth is because they know what it's like to go through very difficult times, very challenging times and trying times. They're like a tribal kind of energy, and that yet they've had to fight a lot for their own rights, and they've had some wars and things like that. So they're sort of forced into being warriors, not because they want to, but because they've had to. So they bringing that kind of energy of understanding of what we're going through in that way. The second energy that came through was a little bit of Pleiadian that kind of soothed that sort of energy down a little bit. And then that third sort of energy that came in is what I call my mother tongue. And a lot of times that use that in an integrative way. So it comes through as integrating like the other ones coming in.
Connects everything.
Yeah, it kind of connects it all together.
I was at the very end of it, I was picturing Stands with Bear and you. Have y'all ever done that? Have you ever
Well, he speaks languages too.
No, but I mean where he has the flute out. I'm sure he does.
Oh, yeah.
But where he has a flute out, you go in a little light language, then the flute comes in, and then back to a little light language, and then the flute comes in. Have you ever done something like that?
Well, yes. I mean, I've actually created my own music has some of the flute that I play because I actually play flute,
Oh, okay.
but not at all like him. But
Yeah.
I've played the flute before I even met him, like way before. So
Right.
I do that in some of my light language activation, my 444 light language and music activation, where I blended the two together. So I will have one that's called Gaia 444, and it has some flute in the background with some drum and some other kinds of music. I have one that's like more fairy energy, one that's more angelic, one that's more galactic.
Yeah.
So kind of bring in those different streams in different ways. But yeah, it's that's why I'm blending it with music now, because it's just the natural course.
Where stands with Bear? Where's he at?
Right now, or just I don't know where he's at. He's not here at this moment, but he's around.
We have to get you. We have to get him on. We have to get you on together.
Yes, we would love to.
I'm just kicking myself. Of course, I didn't have any time to spare over there as it was, but yeah, at least now I know that you guys are there, and I'll make it a point next time.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, we a lot of people, we've been sort of, hiding away. I mean, Stands with Bear hasn't done a lot of his music venues because it's been shut down. He's one of the people that got shut down with that whole thing, with all the resorts shutting down. So we're just starting to kind of get that back rolling again. Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm really excited, but we would love to be on here. He would love to be on here, whatever you like.
Absolutely, both scenarios. So now where can people find you?
Best place is my website, which is LightStar Creations with an S on the end, .com. So lightstarcreations.com, or they can go to my YouTube channel as well, which is under LightStar. Is
it LightStar Creations, right?
Yeah, LightStar Creations with an S.com. And that's probably the best place to go. Yes, that's correct. And then my YouTube channel as well, which is under LightStar, where you can see all my different things I offered. I have tons of, light language activations.
Okay. So your YouTube is LightStar, right?
It's under LightStar, I believe. Yes. If you type in LightStar in YouTube, it'll pop up with my channel.
Far out, man.
Yeah. So
and we just found out about a new power couple in the community that's been together for almost 10 years.
Yes, we're both very much on the same path with bringing the starseed flavor as well as the galactic and the elemental, and the angelic. Yeah. So we kind of bring all streams here. Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, it's the fire, water, air, and ether. Plasma.
All of it.
The plasma too. Not seeing you guys standing side by side, but knowing, because I know very well what he looks like, and looking at you, I can see you guys. I don't care for the word twins and all that stuff, but you guys definitely look like you're. We
have a very polar opposite type of interesting relationship. Yeah, we're very polar opposites. So
she's a prim and proper, and I'm wild and crazy.
Yeah, it's funny. Comes like that where there's the complement of the other side. So. But yeah, we're very well connected, and we always have been. And it's not always. We have a story which we'll share. I guess when we have us back, we'll share the story of how we met. It's kind of interesting. But definitely, we have this.
Well, you cannot. I just have to say this. You cannot. First of all, we've talked about it enough on the show, Morgan and I've made reference enough, and other couples have supported it, which is. These relationships in this day and age are a totally different kind of deal. And it's not just, there's this, and I think it's fading and diminishing now, but there's been this misconception that, I met my twin, I met my divine consort, whatever, and now everything's fluffy, love, and light. No, it's not. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of self-love, self-respect, self-honesty, and also, it takes, in other words, we've removed that codependent frequency, these types of relationships, and it's constant because those things run so subtle. It's okay for me, but not for you. We don't even realize
it really teaches you a lot of compassion for yourself and compassion for other people and the other person. And it's taken us this is a good 10 years, for us, really to get to the point where those first few years are not easy.
My hair was totally black when I met Morgan.
I'm not dying it. So
but the fact that you've done it in Sedona.
Yeah, that's even more. because
And it's crazy because I mean, I'm telling you, in the last 60 days, I have seen several couples split.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of them come back. There's separation,
Right.
energetic separations, but yeah, it's just been like, and the one thing that I've been really amazed about these couples that I've seen that have separated, whether it's temporary or permanent, is the way they've handled it. They've been quiet. They've been quiet. They've been classy.
Yeah.
You don't even know. You have to kind of like dig a little bit to figure it out. But that's not like it was 2-3 years ago. 2-3 years ago, somebody would, split up, and they'd be like, man, it was like, it was like warfare.
Right.
Public warfare.
Well, it's funny, and as much has been going on, as much as I've been through, even in my own personal life, with losing like basically my whole family in this time frame has been very difficult. We've gone through many different challenges, and we're still here. It's kind of like, that's why I say the more you go through challenges.
That part, I can relate to that part, because when it happened to me, when I got reawoken, so I went on the streets for 2 years by my own choice. That's the way I worked it out. And but it was crazy because there was I can't remember the number now, but there was somewhere between 6 and 8 deaths. They just went boom, boom, boom. It was like every couple of months. One of my relatives.
And that we know how we feel about people crossing over, but it's still a very difficult thing to go through, especially that many, when it's like one after another after another. So the couples to stay together, it's not easy. It's a lot of work. It's not roses all the time, which people tend to think it is, but it's not. And yet it can be roses too, but it's not like that.
And I got to say too, and I think they're just like the individuals, the couples. It's all energy, but it seems like, I mean, at least in my own right, I can look at where we're at now to where we were a year or 2 or 3 years ago, and things seem to be getting, I mean, they just get a little bit more seamless, a little smoother every single day. And I say that even from an individual standpoint.
No, I agree. And I know Stan's there would agree with that as well, if he was here, because I know that we definitely have seen improvement year by year, and especially in the last few years. But I do feel things do, and I think part of it is getting to know the other person and how they are.
Well, get to know yourself. I didn't know I was an asshole until I met Morgan. No, I'm kidding.
Reflection. That's all it is.
Well, that's the crazy. See, to me, that's been the one thing that I can say since I met her. Like, because they talk about mirrors, and of course that meaning takes on more and more truth as time goes on. But you look at the other person and you say to yourself, you know what? Whatever it is, I mean, I'm going to deal with me because I know she's going to deal with her, period. Yep. And that pretty much takes care of everything for me. I mean, that's it, because. Well,
we found laughter is pretty much the key to everything. So if you're in some kind of a tense situation, and if you can bring in humor right then and there, that's the hard part, is you got to do it. Yeah. But it can break, at least with us, it breaks everything apart, and we just start laughing, and it's just like over.
Yeah, the humor. There's so much wisdom in the frequency.
As you all know, he's a very humorous one, so there's always a lot.
He's super cool. He really is, and you are too. And it's a pleasure meeting you. And I want to thank you again for coming in.
For having me on here. So very, very appreciative, and look forward to our future episode 2.
Absolutely.
And, absolutely. Thank you.
Next time we come to Sedona, the 4 of us will have to get together, because I don't know if you've had these experiences, but we had countless couple, connections that we made, and even with some androgynous beings, which were carrying the same frequency, which was
very cool.
Powerful, impactful, and we're still. I mean, I'm not even just barely 24 hours home. And I've got a lot of integrating to do, so I'm going to shut it down probably for the rest of the day. I was thinking about doing a spontaneous show, but I'm not going to. I got too much to align with it myself. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Stands with Bear. Tell him I say hello, and I look forward. We'll reach out and we'll do something together over and over. Y'all take care. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, LightStar.